Hello everyone, and welcome to today's presentation on the evolution of custom to no coding environments. My name is Michael DeBruin, and I'm the CSO at Adesso, where we believe everyone deserves a smoother workday. We do this by delivering no-code solutions to the enterprise, which solve specific issues which are common. So let's hop right into the presentation. One of the first slides that I like is this evolution of man, where it shows us going from ape to standing tall and then back to the computer. Well, it doesn't always need to be like this, but for the foreseeable future, coding is going to be a reality of today's environment. Now, in 1975, Gordon Moore posited that the number of integrated circuits would double every 2 years. Now, while this wasn't based on empirical evidence, this has held true since 1975. The value of this theory, or actually now called Moore's Law, is the fact that with this doubling rate of technology, more and more opportunities become available, and the life as we know it actually becomes driven by this. To start the presentation, we're going to look at some verticals. This will give us an idea of the impact that that technology has had on the way that we perceive life. First, we can see with education that due to the use of technology, as of 2015, the percentage of the US population with a high school education is reaching nearly 90%, whereas before 1940, it was less than 10%. This is largely due to the ability of distance learning, which relies heavily on technology. In medicine, another interesting example is that in 1950, the rate that our medical knowledge doubled was every 50 years. In 2010, this was down to 3.5 years, and it's predicted that by last year, it would double every 73 days. The amount of medical knowledge accrued is truly astounding. And this means that everything that doctors are learning in school not only is outdated, but practically irrelevant by the time they start practicing medicine. Manufacturing is another interesting vertical. The cost of manufacturing has dropped significantly over the past 5 decades. This is largely due to global supply chain, reduction in manufacturing costs, reduction of waste, etc. All these advances are primarily through the use of technology. As technology advances continue, these prices will continue to drop. Next, let's look at how coding has evolved over the last several years. In this diagram, we see at the bottom, we have our actual hardware, and then sitting directly on top is machine language. This hasn't changed. Above that, you have low-level programming languages like assembly, and then higher-level languages such as Fortran, C, and Pascal. More recently, object-oriented programming became popular with C#, J#, etc. Beyond that, we now have the evolution of different types of coding environments which abstract the user from the need to deal with code completely. As an example, we can see how web development has evolved over the years. So when websites first started becoming popular, HTML knowledge was necessary to code web pages. Looking at the diagram, we can see that this quickly evolved into GUIs, and then beyond GUIs into widgets. And now pretty much anybody with a basic understanding of an Office application can open up a web page or a browser and set up their website fairly simply. Everything from a storefront, payment processing, etc. requires no knowledge of coding whatsoever. Now, many people don't realize that the same transition has occurred when it comes to application development, whether it's on the desktop or for your mobile device. Why is this? Pareto's principle was created by Vilfredo Pareto, and he first created this by observing pea pods in his garden. He noticed that only 20% of his pea pods produced 80% of his harvest. Later went on and extrapolated looking at Italy's land ownership, and he saw that 80% of the land was owned by 20% of the population. We now use Pareto's law commonly in various verticals. And in technology, what we see is that 80% of users only use 20% of the functionality developed by the application or the application owner. So really, looking at it from that perspective, the majority of effort can be put into this 20% that is all that is really being used 80% of the time. Now, if we look at the next step past object-oriented programming, we see low code to no code evolving. Now, many people think that this is impossible because there will always be some coding required. And to this I say yes. Just as in web programming, there's always going to be a small market for custom coding, etc. But just as in web development, the vast majority of users are now able to stand up a website by themselves without any outside intervention, and then hire a specialist if some type of custom development is desired or needed. Coding has reached the same level, and that's really what we're seeing today. Why does it matter? Well, just like with websites, the programming isn't really the key to getting a good website. It's the people with ideas that you really want interacting with those websites or putting the websites together. So having no code availability really makes it possible for everyone to get involved in bringing all those ideas to the table, whether or not they have any coding experience. This actually delivers what the business needs rather than what people think they need, and it gets it to them faster. Another aspect is that as things continue to evolve, we see there's new functions where actually touching a keyboard may not be required at all. A new codex called OpenAI is creating the reality where people can develop programs just by using voice commands. Hey Siri, write me a program. If you can understand the workflow and you can describe it, then Siri can make it for you. We're seeing this today already with Siri being able to do voice to text or schedule things in your calendar or pretty much any simple thing you ask. So really all we're talking about here is using Siri, Apple or Google to string multiple requests together and create applications. Thanks for your time and have a great day.